Trump administration has now floated the idea of giving $5,000 per child to couples who have new babies to encourage people to reproduce. Now, this comes shortly after a study showing that for the first time in American history, fertility rates declined in all 50 states among men and women. So here's a fun fact, though. Nebraska is the third most fertile state in the country. Nebraska, I think South Dakota and Alaska. So if you live by the oil pipelines, your sperm count's a little bit higher. That's what we've learned from this. But so we do have a real problem in this country, guys. And I've said it before on this show that, yes, I completely agree. We need to make it harder for people to get into the country. We can't just let anyone walk in here willy-nilly through the immigration process. We need to vet people. We need to be a little bit more selective. But at the same time, if you look at Japan and their issues that they're having with people working 90 hours a week and throwing themselves off of buildings because they don't have enough people to work over there, we're headed toward that. If we don't figure this fertility crisis or population crisis out pretty quickly. We really are. Because you saw this in Europe as well. Birth rates started to decline. And what happened was the European governments went, oh my God, we need to correct this. They tried to bribe people to have babies. It didn't really work. And then they tried to let a bunch of Muslims in. Muslims and Arab and African immigrants. And we all know the rest is history. Now you've got rape gangs running around. You've got London has basically been turned into, Saudi Arabia 2.0. It's a disaster over there. And that's what happens. They tried to fix their declining birth rates, and it didn't work. And if there's one thing the Muslims do, it's there's a couple things they do, but one of them is reproduce. It's kind of a soft crusade, which we'll talk about later on. Now, here's my thing. I'm not necessarily against paying people to have babies because I think it's within the government's interest, obviously, to make sure that the right people are having babies. The right people. And I know someone's going to twist that and take that out of context. I'm not talking about anyone's racial status, nothing like that. When I say the right people, I mean people that are going to raise the child, regardless of their race, regardless of their religion, regardless of their financial situation, in a stable and loving home. I think when you again, this is a lot of my issues with what Trump does, is they're good concepts, but they're too wide of a net. I think what you do here is I think you can offer the $5,000 baby bonus, but you say we're only giving that bonus to couples that have kids that are legally married. If you are legally married and you have a child, we'll give you the $5,000 stimulus check essentially from the government because we want to encourage the right people to have kids. Where it gets a little goofy is when you just start giving it to everybody, because as we learn with tax returns and welfare and all these other situations, when you tell people they're basically going to get paid to have kids, having a kid becomes almost like a job to them. You know about this, don't you? I mean, there's people out there, they just have kids for the tax benefits and the welfare money that comes in, and the kids get screwed over. So I think you can do this because we absolutely should be encouraging Americans to have babies, but we need to be selective and we need to encourage the right Americans to have babies, not just anybody. So I think what you do is you say, okay, we'll give you $5,000 for every kid you have if you're married. And guess what? If you're not married, if you get divorced and you can't prove that there was some either some type of domestic violence going on, both of you are on the hook for that $5,000, but we're going to charge you interest every year. You have to pay it back, and we'll seize your tax returns. We'll garnish your wages. We'll do whatever we got to do, and that'll keep people together. And I really like the concept of this because that is the reality. We do the Trump administration, to their credit, is the first administration in my lifetime that has even floated the idea of addressing the population decline crisis we have in this country. And that's what happens to these Western countries. They become more commercialized. They become more selfish. They have less kids. Now, some of it's what's in our food and water that makes it harder for people to get pregnant. Some of it's all the medications that they've got people on for all these bullshit made up disorders. And some of it is just flat out consumerism and selfishness. Like the you know who would be a good expert to get in to debate this topic with me? The girl from that YouTube video, the 5-head girl, the one that makes Rihanna, look like her head's a couple sizes too small. She would be perfect to bring on here and come on and debate this. But we do have a problem, and we have two options if we don't address it. Those options are to automate all the jobs away or import the third world because they reproduce. I don't want to do either of those things. I just want the right people to have more kids. If you're a husband and wife you don't have to be rich. You got a decent income, loving home. Yeah, I want you guys raising more kids in a stable environment, because when you encourage the right people to raise children in a stable environment, society as a whole betters. And it's like I said, I think the government does have a role and does have, more importantly, a responsibility to encourage the betterment of society. And I think this is a real easy thing to do. What do you think, Mia? Do you think this is a good idea, the $5,000 baby checks?
Good and bad.
Why? Elaborate.
Good to the people who are like loving homes, who are going to be having babies, and bad to the people who are going to be populating just for the sake of getting the $5,000.
Yeah.
Because then you just bring a baby into an unhappy household.
So are you talking like a marriage, like a married couple that's miserable?
No, I'm talking.
Oh, you're talking like single moms.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think so. That's why I think you got to add the stipulations. I'm not really worried about a married couple. I can't look, kids cost more than $5,000 over the span of 18 years. Well, believe it or not. They do.
Nope. When we hit 5,000, we're just cutting the kid off.
They're on their own.
Yep, on their own.
On their own. That's they do cost more than $5,000. So I don't think any couples out there are gonna run a scam on the government for $5,000. No one's gonna commit 18 years of their time for $5,000. You go get a part-time job, working out with the bartender class. If you really want to get another $5,000, you'd have it by the end of the year. Okay, let's go to the next one here. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, be sure to click the link in the description to get the full episode on Rumble. If you prefer to listen along, you could actually get us on Spotify, Spreaker, and iHeartRadio. You can also go to www.outlawstreamers.com to learn more about not just my show, but tons of other great shows and all the exciting projects they have coming up. Follow my socials at Caleb Isn't Funny on Twitter and Instagram, at Caleb Salvatore Comedy on the Chinese Spy app that is TikTok, and be sure to like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thanks, and we'll see you every Saturday for brand new episodes of That's Based. Peace.